All right, guys, let's do this. Cory Creed, Inside Dirt. Welcome.
Roll cameras.
The action hero nobody wanted. Cory Creed stars as everyone in the most ridiculous film of the year.
Australia's Cory Creed picking up where he left off in 2023.
He is not afraid. He's going high. He's ready to set a statement here. Mind-blowing to even get back up and want to do this again.
The last attempt here for Cory Creed. And just sends it to the moon, Vicky.
Oh my gosh.
In first place, walking away with the gold medal is Cory Creed.
X Games 2024, I'm going to dedicate this gold medal to J.O. Archer.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Joe.
All good, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think backstory, Cory had some stunt work last night that we'll talk about. That's like the other half of your career that I think people will be really interested to learn about.
Yeah, most don't know about it. So
yeah. And then also you have a family.
Yep.
So we've lost a lot of time today on how we were going to do this. So I appreciate you still making the drive up, but we'll keep this a little bit less about the history of Cory Creed because these are like long form. I like to delve into careers.
But
we'll keep this one more about X Games coming up, recent X Games, all the stuff there with your stunt work and you know, all things.
FMX High Air.
FMX
one
High
at the
Air.
moment. So
You're a man with a lot of things, mate. A lot of things going on.
I got a lot going on right now. Probably too much. I'm starting to drown a little bit. So
That's the best way, bro.
yeah. I mean, it's just like it's as time goes on, you learn how to manage everything properly. And like me growing up, or like my whole career, I've just been like all or nothing, all in.
Yeah.
And now with these three, companies, I guess you'd call it, I'm just like starting to I need to figure out how to simplify it all.
I find from my experience though that when you're all in and you just bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
What's that expression? Chew like fuck, basically.
Yeah.
But that's when you actually make progress. But like I have it where I'm like, I need to calm down for a while.
Yeah.
And I need to just streamline but you don't grow. You just kind of start treading water.
Yep.
There's no balance.
No, that's me right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm swinging. I mean, I've been swinging my whole career, swinging at things to get stuff done. But right now, my shoulders are getting pretty heavy.
That's good, bro. All right, so let's talk about. I guess that's the starting point, right? Like right now, how old are you?
I'm 35.
35.
35.
Yeah, you and I are a similar age.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just turned.
Just turned.
Feeling this is the number I'm feeling. Starting to feel 30 to 34. You're like, and you're like, it's a new 20, 24, but 35 now, I'm like struggling with a few body injuries. I'm like, this is really 35.
You do start to feel it, bro, like mid-30s. We
Yeah.
had Ferris in here the other week.
Yep.
And I mean, he's a freak, like full
Yeah.
triathlete, but
Yep.
the injuries, he's getting like hardware out of his elbow, hardware out of his back. Like, do you have much hardware?
Oh, I got hardware in my hand and like my knee, my wrist, but like I had my rod taken out of my femur and my rod out of my tib just in case. Because I heard stories like Cody Mackey back in the day.
Yeah.
And when he broke his femur and he had a rod in, he had a crash at Coolum and it bent the rod and I was just told that they had to like chisel the rod off the bone off the rod.
Yeah.
And I was like, that scarred me for life.
Well, that's the horror story, isn't it? That if it does bend the rod,
Yep.
I don't know, bro. Any hardware in you is not good, right?
No, especially like if it's like in line with what you're doing, like especially riding a motorbike full time.
Yeah.
It's the last thing you want because that's just
you just don't want it.
It's gonna be a way major issue than what it should be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess 35, like we'll keep it not too detailed on injuries, but like it starts to add up, right? Like I'm the same, dude. Like I've got, no ACL on my left knee, no MCL, no cartilage in my left arm, whatever. You've probably got heaps more, but it's like just little things like you play soccer with the kids or you go to the beach and the next day I'm like, I can't walk today. Like, what is it? Like, oh yeah, I jumped off a sand dune, or
Yeah. Or you're on the trampoline and you're like, oh, my knee just gave way.
yeah, I just popped my knee out. Like,
Yeah, I had that the other day. I was like, I'm going to get off.
bro, you know what does that for me is shopping trolleys.
Shopping trolleys.
Shopping trolley. It's like my kryptonite. Pushing a shopping trolley. If
Really?
I have to turn right, the amount of times in Coles I've just folded my left knee.
It must be heavy trolley.
Nah, it's just,
It's
I
stacked.
guess because there's no lateral support.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like kind of steer a trolley with my elbows now. I just like use it as like a lounge, like a leaning point. That's my
How
best
good
way.
is
right?
getting old? Talk about getting old, right? We'll get into it next. But so, you know, there's that flu that's been going around.
Yeah. I've heard of
I
it.
got that like 3 weeks ago. Adam will tell you. Like Adam, our producer, like we work together with my agency side of the business, and he shoots all our commercial content.
Yep.
But like they were down at World Supers at Phillip Island, and he's just like didn't hear from me for 3 days. Like I got this flu and was just done in bed. Haven't been sick like
MIA.
that for years. But you know, normally you just bounce back.
Yeah.
Like I've got like fluid on my ears. and
Oh, you like
I
your ear
can't
infections
hear
too?
Anything, dude.
Yep.
So I'm like lip reading you right now.
Yeah.
And like holding my one good ear to the camera. But like, how good is it being 30s?
Oh, man.
So, X Games, like you said, there's 3 parts to Cory Creed. You got X Games High Air, or Quarterpipe, or what do I actually call it?
Yeah, moto quarterpipe.
Moto Quarterpipe, which is the gnarliest event I think ever created.
Yeah, and I mean, we got like the main, like we got NBC on the Sunday now. Like they put us on the Sunday, which is like the big time for TV, which is cool.
That's so you got X Games. We've got the Drivers, is it? Which is your stunt company.
Yep.
Which is movies and motorcycles and cars.
Yeah, TV commercials,
TV
Netflix,
commercials,
all that kind of stuff.
which is again a really interesting career path.
Yeah.
And then FMX High Air, which is the new demo company, right?
Yeah.
The shows.
Yep, the new birth of FMX High Air. Yeah, so I got loads going on. Like I'm a bit of a workhorse. I didn't want to just be like, oh, now you ride motorbike full time, or as as an athlete. I didn't want to just leave everything behind that got me started there, or like has paved the way to getting to that. So I was just like, I'm just gonna push through it, move things around. I mean, how many days a week can you actually ride? You know what I mean? Like,
well, look, you're preaching to the choir here. Like, as in, the biggest mistake, in my opinion, that riders make is what you just said.
Yeah.
But I know the reason why you do what you do.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that my career went the way it did,
Yep.
was that you didn't turn pro. Like, you had pro racing. You got into the shows and the freestyle. I said, we'll do a career one at a later date.
Yep.
But it wasn't like you left school and just went, I'm pro moto guy now.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You've had to segue and hustle and work and build this Cory Creed journey and brand.
Yep.
So then when you quote unquote make it, why would you stop?
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
where I see so many riders just like you said, oh, I'm a motorbike. I ride dirt bikes full time now.
Yeah.
Then when the music stops, they're like,
Now what?
now what? Like, because you've seen it,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
those sponsor deals, the contracts run for X amount of years. And when they stop, like you got a lifestyle that's accustomed to making X amount of money. You got bills, mortgage, kids. Like, how often do you see it where they don't anticipate it's coming and then just go, oh shit.
Oh, all the time, because I mean, when you're in that position, you're like, time speeds up because you're having a great time. You're riding a motorbike full time. You're getting paid to ride a motorbike. So, your opportunity and your time frame is like you have to hit the iron while it's hot. That's what I've found. I mean, I'm still got a lot of great partners, and my deals have been running for quite some time now. So,
You got good people around you too.
yeah,
eh?
yeah, real good people around me. Like Joel, my manager, John McDonald from Oz Agency. He looks after my whole program. And then obviously, family, my crew. Like it does it. It's not a one-man shop when it comes to coordinating and managing my compound. Just that side of it too. Man, I got heaps of good people around me. So I'm very lucky.
It's not luck, bro. It's who you surround yourself with. You want to move that mic?
Yep.
But you're also very personable. Like I remember when I first got hooked up with you was when I moved to the Gold Coast during COVID.
Yeah.
And I think you were in hotel lockdown at the same time as me because I moved from Vic and you were coming back from X Games.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And we started talking. Like,
yeah.
Because remember my offices when I first moved to the Goldie were at Raceline.
Yes, that's right.
And you were riding for Kev back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
I know, right?
I forgot about that even when we caught up and rode at my compound when you were doing your Honda thing.
Well, I think that.
Didn't even remember all that.
Well, I think I know why, because you just got off that X Games crash. And
Yeah.
hit your head, right?
Yeah. I still like to that. I still like have moments and like times where I'm just confused and like I'll be mid conversation talking about the key point of the conversation and just forget about it.
Because like it's not like I want to. You probably don't even remember this, but I remember we were shooting some Raceline commercials. Do you remember this day? And you and Binky were there.
Yes. Yeah, I do remember.
And it was like, I guess I didn't realize how bad your head injury was.
Yep.
And I was just like, here's the script for these reels. It was like whatever we were promoting.
This was for the 125 with the Pro Circuit pipe and that, right?
Yeah. All that
Is that
stuff.
the one? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was that. We were promoting the W's, like all the brands that
Yeah,
Raceline
WP
had.
and all that. Yeah.
And you were like struggling to remember the words, but simultaneously getting really like pissed off because obviously this was something you were dealing with.
Yeah.
And that was when it hit me. I was like, you must have really had a head injury, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the perfect way to explain it. Like I couldn't know something, read something, okay, and then just talk about it 2 seconds later. I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
I'd like get the quarter of the way through and be like, oh, and just lose it all completely.
So that was 20 what X Games?
21.
21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one hurt, eh? Like, you know, you break your femurs, you do all the big stuff of breaking bones, but the head injury one, I'm still living with me. Yeah. It's not that it's getting any worse, but it's definitely there.
So was that the best whip crash?
Yeah, it was just practice, like the first practice of the whole weekend.
That's right. And that was it when it was at Hodges compound.
At Axel's, it was like just a 120 ramp. I apparently went a little bit short. That was it. Couldn't remember. Like I just woke up on Nick Schmidt's lounge. Was like seeing all the videos in hospital and that. Didn't remember anything. Just woke up in the lounge as if I just woke up from sleeping.
Wow, that's so
gnarliest
heavy.
thing. Yeah, it really was. So
well, I guess that's a good way to start into X Games, and we'll just make that this first topic.
Yeah.
My first memory of you before I knew you, this may be wrong, outside looking in.
Yeah.
I knew you rode some of the Showtime stuff at Movie World, like you were in this Queensland scene before I moved up here.
Yep.
I just knew of you. And then all of a sudden you popped up at the Nitro World Games Quarterpipe.
Yeah.
Is that how it came about? Like your Quarterpipe journey?
Yeah, so I like rode at Movie World, did some whip stuff, did a whip comp for Bailey, got into OzX, did all that. Anyway,
that's right, OzX. I remember.
Yeah, I won OzX, and then timing is everything. X Games came to Australia the next year.
That was the Sydney one.
Sydney.
Yes.
And I got into whip, and then X Games were like, "Oh, do you want to do quarterpipe?" And at that time, I was like in America,
right, riding
with Travis on the Nitro Circus World Games quarterpipe.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of had a bit of time on it now. I'm keen to ride. I do quarterpipe at X Games. So that's how it kind of all just eventuated.
Did you win? Was the World Games the first one that you won?
No, second one.
Second one.
Yep.
So you won X, then World Games.
I got second at X. No, I went to World Games first international competition, got third.
Right.
And then X Games got second, and then went back to World Games and won.
That's right.
Yeah.
What years was the first World Games?
2018.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, 2018, yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I just remember watching you because that was the big dog quarter to
32
like
foot.
the all-in-one structure.
Yep.
Kind of what yours is now, right?
Yeah.
Similar concept.
Yeah.
Like the one at your property.
Yeah, kind of like that. But that was like it was the big one, but it was the safest one because it was the whole structure.
It looks like as safe as it can be.
Yeah, yeah. It was actually really safe, and like I had a crash on it, like, and just like it was kind of like I fell off the bike in the air and just slid down this big slippery slide. It was awesome.
From outside looking in, it looked like it had the safest transition of if you were to slide out at least.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really case the deck. The deck looked...
Yeah, it had like a tapered deck and then it went into its downy. It was like it was just artificial grass, but it wasn't as slippery as what you would for sure think. I mean, obviously when you're landing quarterpipe, you got heaps of like force and momentum.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I went to... I go from there to X Games Sydney and got second in whip.
That's right. I remember that. And that's just, So you're 3 times X Games gold medalist?
Yep. I always wanted the
silvers?
3. Always wanted the 3, especially after like winning in 19, having the crash and trying to fight back. That was the one last year is probably the most specialist one.
3-peat is gnarly, bro. Like, I feel like X Games, you're a similar age to me.
Yeah.
But what X Games meant when we were kids.
Yep.
And the prestige, I think it lost its way quite some time ago.
Yep.
It seems to be coming back a little bit, as far as, not to discredit your achievements, but what I mean by that is, at one point there was so many events that people are racking up gold.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they'll do 5 golds in one weekend in moto across different events. It seems like now it's a little more, well, there's no freestyle anymore, right?
Yeah.
But there's best trick, best whip, and
Quarterpipe. Yeah, they're the 3.
But the level, it seems to be back to people pushing. I guess that's what I'm getting at. It went through a lull, I feel, of people not pushing the limits.
Yep.
Hard to say when that was.
I feel like it was like 2018. It started to kind of drop off a bit, and then it like kind of hit COVID. But like back when it was huge back in the day, they were like the days where you had the Metzgers and the Degans, and it was just like that created the sport. Like,
it did.
You know, that and Twitch, like those boys, I feel like just put it completely on the map. And it was like when you'd watch like Hoodrich, or you'd watch the Deegan's one. It was just, I remember watching it in my living room at home, like when I was 19 or something.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that now these days, like I'm a 3 times gold medalist and used to watch all those boys, and now I'm mates with Twitch and, right at his house, I'm a DBK guy. It's pretty cool to see, like, I know it's not as big as it used to be, but it's like, it's still pretty special.
I think it's going back to that core. Obviously, it had its explosion.
Yeah.
When we were kids.
Yeah.
And then it's reached that saturation point, and now it's coming back.
Yeah.
But that must be surreal for you. Like, I remember, again, this isn't my story, but it's like I went from washed up racer in the UK, and then by happenstance got hooked up in America after I rode freestyle for like 6 months.
Yep. Went
to the East Coast, and then boom, literally I'm riding shows like instantaneously. It's just the way these events happen. And it's like, it's not X Games, it's not, but I remember just being in these stadiums of the IFMA ramp to ramp tour.
Yeah,
I caught the very end of that tour.
Yep.
And there's 20,000 people in these hockey arenas, and you're doing shows, and I was just like, how the fuck am I here? Like, it felt so, like it was like a dream.
Yeah.
Because you don't come from there. You have, let's be real, no business being there.
Yeah.
As far as I was concerned.
Yeah,
This kid from England. But for yourself, it's like,
but you were swinging, right?
well, you're doing what you know, and you're 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
You're just a kid.
Yeah.
I was just a deer in headlights. But I think what I'm getting at is that was on a lesser scale. I'm not riding with Switch and Pastrana and all these guys that you've gone from just, you're a big deal on the Goldie doing shows at Movie World. Like, that's sick, right? That's most people's career highlight.
Yeah.
And that show's cool. That show is super cool. I mean, I ended up living just up the road from Movie World. My kids watched it like 100 times.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine how cool it was with the freestyle component. But you went from that to then, like you said, riding with Twitch, riding with Deegan, and being in that elite group.
Yeah.
TV, the pressure of X Games, live TV. Like, is there a point where it took a few years for it to, like, did you have imposter syndrome, or did it feel weird to be there?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I just remember being at World Games, my first like international comp, and it was Travis who invited me.
Yeah.
Travis Pastrana. And I remember I'd like just almost like just like shaking because it was so surreal. It really was so surreal to just be there because you grow up watching him and stuff. And then to go out and ride, like that was the hardest thing, was like to be in so no. I feel like I remember it so clearly, like getting on the bike and just being like, I felt like my hands are like just vibrating off the bars, like because I wanted to perform and do my best there, but it was also these people that I looked up to, my whole life pretty much. So it was surreal as, and I mean, I'll never forget those days. And it feels like that was 2018. It feels like it's all happened within 10 seconds. It's crazy how fast it's going.
It's a click of a finger, right?
It seriously is. Back to that time where you got to strike the iron while it's hot.
Yeah.
And then really embrace this. The time is now. Always the time is now.
It's true, because you see, there's like a real Australian. Realistically, the X Games is Australian right now. Hey, as in the
pretty
rider
much,
roster.
yeah.
Right?
For sure is.
I'm probably going to miss some, but you got Jacko, Adelberg, yourself. Who else?
Sheeny, Harry, Benny Richards. Sinclair, who's it's been a long haul of Aussie boys that we've all done pretty good at. So McNeil.
I guess that Jared was sort of that 2010s era.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously the OGs like Bilko, and it's crazy to me, hey, that I guess it gives a pipeline and credibility for them to have Aussie guys there.
Yeah,
but it's like the American. I don't know. Does it seem like there's? My outside looking in is like the money's dried up for the freestyle side for the most part.
Yep.
So no one's pushing that in the States, but the free ride deal and the whip deal, that's where everyone's kind of...
Yeah, it's kind of taken off. The whip and the quarterpipe stuff is kind of taken off. It's not that the money's dried up to say, but it's, I think from COVID, like none of the deals are all still there. Just there hasn't been a massive growth in money, I think.
Right, it's stagnant, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a bit stagnant. I mean, it makes sense. Like with COVID, it's hard for sponsors and promoters to be like, here's all this money with the question mark, So
it hurt events in a big way.
Yeah.
And obviously freestyle is heavy event orientated.
Yeah. But we don't just it's hard, over the years, you don't just get there with just riding, I think. The biggest thing, I was thinking about this the other day, the biggest thing for me, was actually, I was thinking about it. I was like, I actually do more work off the bike than what I do riding the bike.
Yeah.
It's the way that it goes around and round is insane amount of work behind the scenes, which no one I think will ever know other than my close,
your circle.
Yeah, my circle.
But that's why certain people, I mean, just shipping your bikes to X Games or having bikes in California. Or
flying Jed, my mechanic,
running a road tire on the back of a 450. It's all stuff I want to talk about. But it's not a straight line career path.
No, you have to swing at so many different versions of it, and I feel like what I'm getting at is I feel like that's where I've gotten to in my career because I've put it all on the line for certain things. Like if it's not effort and energy or however you want to say it, but financially, I've just gone, have it all. Yes, have it all. Because I want to it's not only I want to win, but I love this. I just love this shit. I love this everyday life that I live.
Yeah. And
I don't want it to go away anytime soon. So it's have it all. And I feel like a lot of riders these days struggle to do that. Yeah. Just to go, I'll put it all on the line.
Well, that's the one thing you don't fuck around.
Yeah.
I remember when you had, I was watching some clips this morning, the Real X Games edit from back in the day.
Real Moto.
Yeah, Real Moto. You did the movie trailer.
Yeah.
It was so sick.
Yeah.
But that was your old setup at the farm where you had the dirt down ramp.
Yep.
I remember it. You'd always be it got washed out with the storms. You'd have to go rebuild it. So then obviously you have enough of that and you go, all right, I'm just going to go build this engineering marvel that you've built, which for everyone listening or watching, if you haven't gone on Cory Creed's YouTube or socials, there's the first step is looking at it on a screen. But then I remember the first time I came out to ride with you and I was like, so the layman's terms is you've got 3 shipping containers hung, 60 feet in the air?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, little quick backstory. Those 3 landings were actually the landing we jumped to at Movie World.
Right. Okay.
And then when the bikes went away in the show at Movie World, I mean, we had to store them somewhere, and I had that property out there which my friends own and manage. And I said to Gary Reed, and I said, hey, we can put him here if you need, because he was unsure if we were going to use him again. I'm like, let's just put him here because it was over the highway.
Yeah.
And we'll just see what happens. And 4 or 5 years went past. Movie World didn't want bikes back.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, those landings out there, we kind of either need to get rid of them or we need to pretty much get rid of them.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, how about you just have them? And I was like, at this point, I was going through all the weather dramas at my old compound. And I was like, brain started ticking. Yeah. I was like, hey, what can I do? How can I use them? And I was like, imagine if I just, craned them up, got the right, trajectory for quarter. And sure enough, that's how it sits now, and it's massive.
It's I don't know how high the top of that would be, but it's got to be. Well, how tall's the ramp? The quarterpipe.
Ramp's 18 feet, which is 6 meters.
And that landing's a good 15 foot taller than that.
It's almost double. Like the top of the highest part is double.
All right, so it's at a conservative 40 feet. There's 3 ship containers together with a landing. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. But imagine it's a portable landing for everyone watching.
Yeah.
A portable landing of a freestyle ramp, but then flip that thing vertically. Yeah. And then you've just put a dirt transition
at the bottom.
At the very bottom.
And it's the steepest quarterpipe landing in the world because it's at 69 degrees. And like at X Games, we probably run it like a 60, it's like a 73, I think, or something like that.
You full, again, I've been around forever. Yeah. Like, not like I'm a cool guy. I've seen all of it. Yeah. I've seen, there's not much that would make me go, wow. Like, and that's not, again, not being a cool guy. Yeah. It's just, you get numb to it.
Well, you've been out there now, right? And that's what everyone says when they get there. Like, holy fuck.
Like this the first time I seen you hit that thing, and obviously you just get under it.
Yep.
And you got your hang time, but then watching you nose it in, and the thing's pretty much a vert ramp.
Yeah.
And the noise and the force.
Well, the steel,
just boom, and it kind of moves the whole, because we park behind it, right?
Yeah.
It moves the whole thing.
Yep.
And then obviously, because you don't land with your clutch in, do you?
No.
So it's like, you sort of see the engine brake kick in again, and then you hit the dirt, and it's like bum 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 bum. It loads up.
Well, it's like it gains speed because the landing's so steep.
Yeah,
right. So it's like you get from the steel part to the dirt part like crazy fast.
Yeah,
it picks up speed for sure.
It's fun. I remember watching you one day, and it was like, I guess the years of coaching came out.
Oh yeah.
You're like, what do you think? And I was like, I reckon if you do that, I probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but I reckon if you do this and
well, we were helping for sure, because that was like, I think when you were there, it was pretty real close to like X Games run.
It was 23, and we were riding a bit together. Not that I was hitting the quarter pipe, but
I was frequently riding it every day in this, trying to get into my zone.
Well, I think from memory, we were talking about your entry speed versus your acceleration point.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now,
and how it affected your hang time.
Yep.
Which it was really sort of interesting to me.
Yeah, well, because like quarterpipe's all like timing and delivering the power.
Yeah.
Because if you're late on delivering the power, late on your timing, you push through the ramp and you land higher on the landing.
Yeah.
But if you nail it, it pops you out further down the landing.
So the balance is obviously not pulling out too much where you fall to the bottom.
Yep.
But then if you time it late, you're going to hit the deck.
The top. And that's quarterpipe for you. Like it's the boys that I'm coaching now, like they're starting to realize, fuck, this shit
is
actually...
Well, the room for error is...
Yeah, well, there's actually a lot of room for error on the ramp because the ramp's so long.
Yeah.
So to make a mistake is super easy. So, and that's what the boys are finding. They're like, oh, they're popping out, or they're not getting rotation, or they're landing super... If it was to landing, they're landing super high, and the next one they're landing super low. And it's like, not that it's cool, but it's nice to see like that it's quite special quarterpipe.
It's very I mean, I remember I used to ride out at Sinclair's house back in the day a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And he had the old flare quarters. You know, like
the alley, like the 540.
The alley 540.
Yeah, the 12 footers.
And I used to hit that to the landing.
Yeah.
Just get like a bit of hang time. But those things were so, the belly was so steep, you couldn't get like a...
Oh, I mean, I'd be so aggressive off that thing. Like,
but
it was,
I remember the feeling of, it's a weird feeling, but I used to ride a lot of BMX, and I know what you mean, where it's like you hit the coping just a little too straight on, or you carve too much, and then...
Or even you yank out the top of the ramp.
So do you give it a nudge at the top? Do you pull up, or do you just ride through?
We kind of jump into it. You know, you step up off your bike and you kind of deliver the power, and you like kind of straight your legs out a little bit, and then you really drive it up.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a bit of a pull. Right. But then you still like pull off it to go upside down and kind of pause, wait till you run out of speed, and then you nose it in. So it's a few step process of really, really riding it properly.
Dude, it's such a... I can imagine you look so... And you elite level guys like you, Axel, Berriman, Raha. Like, you guys look so chill just being underneath the bike.
Mm. Well, that's a job, right?
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I can't sleep at night if I haven't done enough work through the day to, worth my money.
Yeah.
So I like just go at it every day. 24/7 job. You know what it's like? Socials,
Yeah.
riding, prep.
So have you found a sweet spot where you're like, all right, so I remember when I was out there with you a bunch in 23, you'd be like, I'm going to do 15 hits today.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. And I think you were talking about the suspension overheating, like the oil in the suspension, the engine. Like, have you found a sweet spot where you're like this many reps a day sort of thing?
Yeah. So I was like, when I went from KTM back to Honda, I've worked with Charlie Costanza nearly my whole career. And we were going back and forth, suspension, oil, everything was getting hot, you know, softening out, like wearing in, and, you know, I was having dramas. Not that I actually wasn't having dramas. It was just
learning, right?
It was just the learn and the grind from it. And yeah, we've come a long, long way since 23, even though I know it was only like, 12 months
15,
ago.
yeah, 18 months ago, but yeah.
But we've come a long way. We've gone from being stiff to now my stuff is the stiffest suspension Charlie's ever built.
Yeah.
And he's like been factory Honda in US. He's been, you know, everything that he's accomplished here. And we did the hardest suspension he's ever done last year.
So, yeah, it's interesting. There's so many segues of just bike setup and mental capacity.
Especially when we get into like the JPM stuff, motor work, and then back to the tire we ran last year.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So obviously, like we said, you're defending X Games gold medalist. We're going into X Games in June, right?
Yep.
Where is X Games this year?
Salt Lake City. First
Salt
one.
Lake.
Yep.
First one.
We're doing 2 this year.
Yeah, right.
Which is cool. So second one's Sacramento in August.
Sacramento. Yeah, okay. So they're making a push to expand it again.
Yeah. Yep.
Salt Lake altitude.
Yeah.
Have you guys started thinking about that?
Well, that's where Nitro World Games was when we did the big quarterpipe.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, there's not much you can really do too much. I mean, I what I believe. I mean, when I say that to Jed, he's like, "Don't worry, we got it covered."
Yeah.
Like he does everything.
Well, he's like a wizard, right? Like,
he's a massive part of the program.
So talk about obviously defending champ. You and Raha, I think Berriman blew himself out in practice. Knocked himself out or something, right?
Yeah, broke his right arm.
That's right.
Crash.
He went to the
training,
to the floor, right?
Yeah.
I remember seeing that crash. It was awful.
Yeah.
I don't watch a whole lot of X anymore, but because you're there, I religiously watch Quarterpipe.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was interesting to me, obviously, after, where did you finish in 23? You got silver.
Second. Yeah, silver to Colby.
Yeah.
It was at like 6 inches. That was what we went down to.
That was such a, I remember watching that now. And I think it was literally, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll get some footage to blend with this.
Yeah.
But I think you pitched the bike a certain way, but he was more rear wheel high, or?
Yeah, like I went in like super straight and tried to get it really
straight up,
really upside down.
And he went more.
Yeah, because like we measure from the highest part of the bike.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go in as straight as I can and just get underneath it as hard as I can and get it really high. And then I was like, because the defending champ goes last.
That's right.
The year later.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that felt like a solid jump. I'm stoked with that. Might get it done because I was leading through the whole comp.
Yeah, he bested you on the last jump.
Yeah. And then he kind of come in like hot, but like carved, and it went like a bee's dick bigger. And then the videos, it didn't really look like it for months. Like
they did the overlay, didn't they?
Yeah,
like,
and then we did the overlay, and it was like, and it was legit. I seen like the X Games overlay, and it was like 6 inches, and that's like that.
Yeah,
it's cool to go like down to the wire. And I'm like, me and Raha are mates. Like we're good mates actually. So
yeah, you guys are kind of cool. Hey,
we're cool. And I was stoked for him because like we went down to the wire, and he was just the better guy. It was like by that. I
feel like you and Raha have similar stories.
Yeah.
Like he's like the Cali version of your.
Yeah, I worked through
worked your way up.
Yeah.
Real world transition. Like it wasn't like you had it handed to you.
No, yeah.
So, and you're both rock star guys. Like it just seems like there's this respect, mutual kind of.
Yeah, well, it's like family at Rockstar. Like me, Mateus, and Colby. We're boys.
Yeah.
We're mates. We
sick.
just get to live this fucking epic life.
And it seems like, I don't know, man, that I think we'll get into this in a minute, the electric bikes being banned.
Yeah.
There's a lot more politics in freestyle when it comes to X Games, and I think people are aware of. And it shouldn't be a shocking thing to realize that there's a lot of money on the line.
Yep.
There's a lot of influence with brands and TV. Like,
Sure.
it may not be Supercross. There might be 17 X Games and all these millions and millions of fans over the year. But that is a big event owned by, is it still owned by Disney?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Yeah, they sold it.
They bought it back, didn't they? They put a group together.
Yep.
That's right. But getting back onto the story, so obviously you just miss out in 23. And then that must have lit the fire where you've gone with Jed Parsons Motorsport. You've started all this bike development between suspension and motor. Because, I mean, I remember, I was out a little bit in 24 at your place, but not much. It was more the year before. But I'd moved up here by then to the sunny coast. And you just went into like lockdown mode, I think, where then you show up at X Games, you got a road tire on the rear, you got this bike that's just a complete, hot rod.
We've evolved, like in the 12 months, evolved massively.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like I'll go into my X Games prep probably this Monday.
Yeah.
So I finished like my last movie pretty much last night, worked through the night, sunset till sunrise. So movie stuff's been crazy busy, but it's now time to just kind of decline all that and just get hard into X Games. Because in 23, me and Jed only kind of got working together. Yeah. And that bike that I took to X Games in 23 just had an ignition in it.
Yeah, right.
And I actually borrowed it from Honda and I had to go drive to Vegas to get it. So I flew into LA, jumped in a car, pinned it to Vegas, picked this bike up just because it was easy at the time. Like, borrowed it off Honda. They're like, there's one here. I had Bree with me. I'm like, let's just drive to Vegas.
Yeah.
It was like kind of like a bit of a jet lag thing where let's just get on the road and go. Brought it back to LA, built it, put like all my stuff on it. And then that's what I rode at X Games in 23. Yeah. Like a stock borrowed bike with an ignition plugged into it.
Yeah, wow.
So, and then I was like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
And at this point, me and Jed were like, 24, let's get after it. And the rest is history. We went to town.
Did you ship that bike over?
So in the years 21 and 22, I put a bike in a crate and put it on a commercial plane. Yeah. And we're spending like $8,000 one way. And
it is the biggest, people have no idea how much of a fuck around trying to ship anything is like that.
It's insane. Like I had to get carnets of special visa for the bike and crate. I was like, and then like all the costs, all the
taxes,
mate. Yeah. Insane amount of money. And then last year I was like, just going to try and do it a completely different way and just save a buck. Yeah. Anyway, me and Jed pulled the whole bike down and put it in 6 bags and checked it in.
Yeah.
And they were like, yep, no worries. And it was $600 in oversized baggage.
Yeah.
And we landed in LA and we built it at Benny Griffiths.
Oh shit.
And it was just like, it was one of those things that's just like you go above and beyond trying to do the right thing.
The right thing with travel is not always the way.
No, and it's really not. It's really not. You know what the chick said at check-in? She's like, what's in the bags? And I said, oh, just like motorbike parts, mountain bike stuff. And she's like, oh, is that it? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, well, it's better than what some Indian just tried to check in like a 2 kilos of KFC chicken. So you think about it like that, you're like, I'm just going to...
This isn't doing anyone any harm.
Yeah. I'm just going to check my bike in every year.
And I found getting stuff into America as far as bikes is pretty easy.
Going in's fine.
Yeah, getting out is...
Never come out of LA, as we know.
No,
yeah.
That's the unwritten rule.
Yeah, I always fly to SD. Yeah. If I got suspension stuff, SD, they let you out. They're sweet. So.
I've always found that, like, even if I've been going to the East Coast, if you fly to LA, your stuff will not get to the East Coast.
It won't leave LA. Yeah. If you got a connecting, it won't leave.
Yeah, it won't leave. That's what I had happen a few times. Yeah. But yeah, that's obviously the way to do it.
Yeah.
So obviously, all right, you've got your bike in 7 gear bags.
Yeah.
And you guys build it. Then it goes to the bike works on your setup here. So obviously you can't, it's not like you go ride different quarterpipe setups and test it. No. You've got one setup.
Yep.
And then hope that translates to the ramp, to the landing.
Well, usually when you go to X Games, it's like a dirt landing. It's honestly a little bit, it's a nicer landing. Because, you know, when we were talking about how I like get the double bounce from my steel because it's so hard.
Yeah.
And the transition's not perfect.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite hard. I try to make it perfect, but with weather and stuff, it gets washed away and then you just
Or it's
you
never
just
gonna
play the
be.
card you got on.
It's
on
the
some
same as
days.
jumping to a portable freestyle landing.
Yeah.
Like you never.
It's never perfect.
perfect.
And I don't mind having it like that because when I do go to X Games, it's a dream.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, what were we talking about? What was that?
We were
question?
talking about how you send your bike over there that works
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's got to fit the setup.
Well, and plus, like my Quarterpipe is the only Quarterpipe setup in Australia.
Yeah.
So I've got the only one. I'm the only one that rides it here. And most people are like, come, why don't you fly over early and ride here before X? I'm like, well,
What's the point?
What's the point of that? I'm comfy at home. I'll ride all the way up to like 7 days, then we'll the next day pull it down, the next day fly out.
Yeah.
And then we'll just turn up ready to rip in. So, and then like going back to working with Jed and the bike and the engine, like Jed built this engine and this bike and it did 285 pulls on the dyno and needed a clutch and rings in it before I even rode it.
Yeah. Right.
Like mapping ignitions and second injectors and the gearbox. We took gears out when we went to town, and like last year was to town. This year is scary.
Another level.
Is scary. I mean, it's not scary. The best thing we're working with Jed and JPM and Brownie, who we're all going this year.
Yeah, you can take the whole crew.
Well, I took Jed last year, but this year with how much we're going above and beyond, because remember last year we turned up and we had this slick tire on and we're like evolving the sport. Now, of course, people are going to start to follow the direction. So this year we're going to just go with guns blazing.
Well, you're definitely pushing that envelope where, like, can you even ride your Quarterpipe bike on freestyle?
Oh, I can, but I don't
You don't
like
like
to.
to?
Because, like, when you're doing whips and that, you're hanging off the limiter. This engine's
It's not designed for that.
like 3 times the price of a motorbike.
Well, I guess that's also an interesting point, is that when you guys do, because you did best whip for a lot of years and you can still whip the hell out of a bike.
Yeah, I just love it.
You just sit on the limiter. But when you do Quarterpipe, it's rah, and then
It's timing and patience.
straight back in, right?
Yeah, well, whips, like, it's like you have to get it all done like that. And then it's like a whole nother world. You go to Quarterpipe and it's timing and you've got to be patient.
How many seconds are you in the air on a Quarterpipe?
You'd be 3.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
serious hang time, hey.
3, 4 seconds. 4 seconds at X Games for sure.
That's
Close to 4.
that's so long.
It's a long time.
Does it feel like, obviously, everything slows down with focus and flow state?
Yeah.
Like, you feel like you're up there forever.
When you go real straight, because when you go real straight without any carve, you stall and you sit there and it's like, okay, now we're falling. It's sick. It's the best thing ever. I love it.
It's so talking about 20. You. I remember TV, the female reporter.
Oh, Vicky.
Vicky. She's
Yeah, yeah.
like, check this out. Like he's got to rotate. America.
Yeah.
He's got to rotate.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there, bam, bam.
Yeah.
And Jet's cooling the engine, and
I was doing burnouts before my runs.
yeah. And obviously, you kept that under wraps because I didn't even know about that. I don't think anybody did. So it was the whole community, as far as the Quarterpipe guys, just like, what the hell is that?
Well, the whole idea was to have this tire to test because it's a slick tire. There's more rubber on the ground. There's more drive.
Yeah.
And we tested it and it was amazing. I tested an oil track tire and
Because you have a flat trap background too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this tire, the sidewall just didn't really hold up. And that's when I almost missed the landing before X Games last year.
Right.
Because it just steered with
it's
the rear.
flexing.
And I almost legit land.
Well, I saw the
past.
clip where you sort of bounced and just broadside at the edge of the landing.
Dirt, yeah.
We also have to talk about when you just missed the landing.
Oh, the first time?
pocket.
Yeah, we'll get back to that.
But yeah.
I tried the tires and they were amazing. I was like, that's the one. That's for sure. We have to run that at X. But I was like, we'll bolt the wheel in. We'll have the wheel there ready. We had it covered for the 2 days of practice. Yeah. No one's seen it. No one knew anything. And it was like 10 minutes before the last practice.
You ripped it out.
Yeah, I was like, Jed, let's throw it in. And people were like, what the fuck? And I'm sure Colby asked Eric if it was allowed. And at the time, in the rule book at X Games, you just have to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
That's the rules. That's the rules. And yeah, it was cool because everyone was tripping. And but I think it'll be very different this year. And now the rules, obviously, with the Stark being banned, there's a lot more. Like in our invites and the email, it's pretty involved.
Obviously, yeah. And you're somewhat responsible for that as far as pushing the boundaries. So I want to get into, we'll talk about the Stark thing in a minute because that's super interesting.
Yep.
I want to finish up recapping X Games last year. So I think Raha had literally just come back from being really broken, right? Like
think so.
I think so. So it seems to me like he was easing his way into
New bike,
probably
probably coming back.
and comp, right?
Yeah.
So you were leading for the longest time, quite easily, I think, from memory. And then all of a sudden, I think Raha does a couple hits at the end, and he's right there with you.
Last year's X Games.
Yes.
Yeah. No, 24 or 23? 24. Yeah. Well, Colby was actually
because he's on the Stark as well.
Yeah. He was kind of like running around the third and fourth.
Yeah.
And then his last jump got him bumped him to second.
So you had to send it on your last hit.
Yeah, because he was after me.
Because he was after you. So you had to get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone's seen the video. I was going for the back brake.
Well, that's what I want to talk about because you just go full send mode.
Full send, like completely missed the timing, completely come off the ramp. I thought I was doing a backflip. I thought I was dead.
Yeah. So that was, because that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
You missed your pop.
Yeah.
You didn't hang off of it. You went straight up and you're trying to stall it out.
Yeah.
And you're just kicking the frame.
Yeah.
Kicking like your foot. Like that's like the equivalent of a panic rev.
Yeah.
As far as like endoing off a regular jump.
100%.
And I was just like, man, and you managed to stall it out.
Yeah, I didn't even need the brake, but I was just freaking out.
We just freaking out.
I was just freaking out. I mean, and it went high though. It went high. I want to win by 2 and a little bit feet is a massive margin.
A big. So what was your total height?
Total height was 57.3. No, 53.7. 53.7. Sorry, 53.7.
53.7.
Yeah, and then I think Colby was like a 51 something.
Yeah.
But then in our game, that's quite a lot.
Well, 2 feet is
fair way.
Like you really set that parameter of height. When you left the ramp, were you like, this is...
Oh, fuck.
Were you like, oh, fuck, but if I pull this, I'm going to win? Or were you like...
Yeah, it felt high.
It felt high.
It felt high, but I mean, that's probably a bit of the best thing about this year is I get to go last.
Yeah.
And last year, it was like, that felt high, but I got beat the year before with Colby's last jump.
Yeah.
So, and... I mean, everyone says to me, the measurements on the screen, it looked like he went higher. I'm like, yeah, well, TV just put that there. Yeah. That wasn't a legitimate height thing, which kind of sucks because it should be. Or they just need to go back to having the pole up on the landing. Yeah. And, people aren't dumb. They can just ice it and go, oh, that might be pretty close.
How do they actually, is it like a laser point or something?
Yeah, it's a laser point that goes from like 0 to 100.
Right.
And you jump through and it just reads your height.
Yeah.
And X Games, they're solid with everything. I have no doubt. Like when Colby beat me by 6 inches in 23, I was like, he beat me by 6 inches. And sure enough, after I seen the layover, I was like, yeah.
Well, I don't think that, like, it's not judged. Like back in the day, I think there was some very questionable judging at X Games.
Well, whip.
Sure. Well, there was the text vote thing.
Oh, yeah, that would have sucked.
Whatever.
Being in that era.
Even the freestyle days or best trick, sometimes you'd be like Bilko never won a gold with a 360 in best trick.
Yeah.
It's like, how?
Yep. But, it was a 360 Indy, wasn't it?
Or 360 Indy, 360 heel clickers.
Anything
like,
360, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been a pretty hard era.
Oh, but at the same time, like, this isn't judged. Like, this is science, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a laser point, and that's what it is.
Yeah. That's the best thing is a numbers game.
Yeah.
And they don't lie.
And so, obviously, you get that win redemption after losing out on the final jump the year before.
Yeah, and then, like, the crashing and the winning in 19. Because when you win, you feel like you get a bit deflated. You're like, wait my whole life to win.
Yeah.
Now I've won. Now what?
Yeah.
That's just the person I am. I want to like always be building and growing.
Yes.
And it was actually like in 2020, I know we had COVID or whatever, but in 2020, I was like, it took a bit more effort to get back to get up and get going.
Especially with
again.
the head injury, right? Like,
yeah, but it was just tough. So not last year when I won was
special.
Well,
I think 3P in any sport seems to be, whether it's like NBA, or whether it's Supercross. Like, there's not many 3-time Supercross champs.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, OGX games, there was a lot of multiple golds, but in a new thing is, right, like Quarterpipe is so new.
Yeah.
Like, how many years has it been at X? Since 18? 17, right? So what, 7-8 years?
Yep.
So freestyle's been around for 20-something years.
Yeah.
So even though, X Games is very established, the Quarterpipe side...
It's still growing.
Still new.
And where there's talk of another bigger ramp coming, like a 22-foot ramp,
right, that
we run at X Games, I think over the next few years we might start to see that. But
well, my question to you is this. You just did 53.
Yeah.
How high do you think you guys can go?
Well, it's funny. It's it's a tough one because in 23, Colby won with a 56 something.
Yeah.
And I was second with a 55.8 or something. And then they changed like where the scissor lift was with the laser. They brought it 50 feet closer. And that's why we didn't go as high last year.
Right.
So, I mean, I think we can go 60 foot for sure. I know maybe we're going 60 foot for sure. Like I did some jumps at home before X Games last year and they were bigger than my X Games one that I won with. So I would love to get a solid reading.
Like a consistent reading.
Because I was the first one in the 40s, first one in the 50s.
Yeah.
I'd love to be the first one in the
First
60s.
one in the 60s. Yeah. Excuse me. Because obviously the higher you go, the risk factor.
Yep. It's gnarly. It's gnarly.
What do you think the possibilities are with Quarter is in? I know Raha does knacks and I think you do like seat grab one-handers and...
Well, I'd landed my alley-oop knack at Nitro Circus.
That's right. But that's off the smaller ramp, right?
No, that was off
full
my
size?
That's off full-size comp ramp.
We actually need to talk about the alley-oop.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You've done that. How high was the alley-oops you were doing?
Oh, they would be like 30, 35 feet. They're not so high, but
It's pretty gnarly, bro.
they're just tricky. Like the rotation is really hard.
Or, like I said, even for someone that just goes to the skate park and tries to alley-oop a BMX, it's not easy.
No.
Let alone...
Well, you have so much time on a ramp to deliver it.
Yeah.
And then you have all the weight of the bike. You know, it's... I my first alley-oop to dirt, I remember whacking my head so hard. And I
you
couldn't...
went straight to your head, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sort of slap.
This is my attempt for real moto.
Yes.
And I slapped my head and I was like dazed. And I actually remember trying to get up and I couldn't move for like a split second. I was like, oh, fuck. And then I had to attempt again 10 minutes later because it was like production was there.
You were rolling, right?
We had to get it done or go home in an ambulance. So, well, that's you got to,
the
like,
reality of
you
it.
know, that is because I was like, that's my last piece of, because it's a dangerous part, most dangerous part. That's the last piece of my real moto part. Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm going this until can't do it. Like, legitimately can't do it. Anyway, and then second one landed it. But,
you were, the on fire hit, you did a regular air, right?
Yeah.
But did the alley-oop before.
Yeah.
Was that, because I think Axel did it first.
Yeah, he did the alley-oop, I think the regular way.
Yeah.
Opposite way to what we jump normally. Like the high.
That's right. So he went, instead of going regular air, he did opposite air alley-oop. So would that be easier or harder?
Well, I don't know. It
depends on the rider, right?
Yeah, I think it'd be probably a bit easier because it'd be tricking the brain to go the same way.
True.
Than high air, you know, because my alley-oop apparently was called opposite alley-oop because
it's like a backside alley-oop.
Because it's the opposite way of what we do the ramp, whereas Axel's way is just a regular alley-oop because it's just the other way. Apparently, I don't really know it too much, but
well, I figure if he's going opposite air and he's leaning the same way he would whip,
as
soon as he's past halfway, it becomes like a regular landing.
But
you're blind.
You're blind until
you're backside blind. Like
I guess he is too a little bit, but
why did you choose to do it that way?
Well, because I couldn't set my ramp up on the left side. I was like, fuck, do it, whatever. Yeah, I went to airbag like 50 times before I went to dirt, and that was a gnarly day. That was cool.
But there's no benefit for you guys doing that at X right now. Hey, it's purely high air.
No, like we got Freestyle Kings in May.
Yeah,
in Sydney, hopefully in Brisbane too. But me and Josh, we've been speaking about trying to add a trick. I won't do an alley-oop knacker. I think it feels like it's a bit done. So I'm working on something over the next few months. Probably get through my X Games prep and then hopefully have something for like maybe a tour next year.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so the big news that dropped this week, obviously X Games is banned start, banned electric.
Yep.
Now you went head-to-head with Raha.
Yep.
He was on the start. You're on the 450.
Yep.
Patrick Evans is doing the most ridiculous whips possible on that Stark. Excuse me. I guess thoughts, man. Like, what do you think about that?
Well, brutally honest, it's an advantage. The bike's an advantage.
Yeah.
And the only way that I can explain it for the viewers and the best way is you think of it, if you're in second gear and you jump a normal jump and then you sit on the limiter, right?
Yeah.
The second gear is only going to go to that limiter point.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas an electric bike, you don't have gears. It's going to rev out until it's fucking gets to 80 horsepower or however fast it is. Yeah. And when you're in the air, as everyone knows as a motorcycle rider, the bike is way lighter when the wheel is spinning as fast as it possibly can.
Yeah.
So it's not just saying it's all bike. Like Patrick is fully dialed in and he's riding amazing. It's epic. But it is a lot of bike helping that too. Because you see most of the start guys that are riding doing whips, they're riding really good and honestly much the same. Like the things are upside down, they're full 180 because the bike is like it would feel like a little mini bike in the air because it's just revving its tits off and it's so light.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a pretty big advantage compared to your normal, like call it Tyler Berriman at Whip last year. He's only got his second gear and the wheel stops spinning because it's on the limiter to up of second gear.
I think that's what you look at when I look at it from a outside perspective.
Yeah.
I watch Berriman, I watch whoever it is on the 4-stroke.
Yeah.
There's so many gnarly guys now. I'm not just singling out him, but it's just I think he was silver medal, right?
He was second. Yeah.
And it's like he gets to that point of complete, almost upside down.
Yeah.
But there's nothing left.
No.
And the bike becomes heavy, and then he has to really snap it back in.
Well, once he's underneath it and he goes to kick it around, it's on the limiter.
There's nothing left.
That's all it's got.
And that's what it seems like with Evans. He's able, like when it gets to upside down, he's then able to go inside out. And it just comes back.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of backlash publicly, which is not shocking because social media, that's all it is. But it's tough. Like people are like, oh, you know, riders are complaining, riders are protesting. But like you just said, you got not protested, but you know, your competition's gone, hey, is he allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Because there's no clear rule book that says, hey, you can't run a road tire or a dirt track tire.
Yeah.
So I guess I know Berriman took a few shots on the podium last year, which he's obviously allowed to be pissed that he's probably done the biggest whip of his life and the biggest whip of 4-strokes probably ever done. Off a next gen ramp.
Yep.
And then he probably feels like it's unfair.
Well, I guess that was 70% of the push for the slick tire last year.
Yeah.
Because I knew Colby was riding Stark and our 450 is not 80 horsepower and it doesn't free rev to 80 horsepower, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, I had to have something in my back pocket. And I was riding the highest in the practices, and I knew if once I put the slick tire in, it was going to go to the moon. Yeah. And I'll never forget it. It was in the second practice after I bolted the wheel in, and I nailed the timing, the best I've ever fucking nailed it on Quarterpipe. And it, as you know, when you're jumping a motorbike, you're pretty strong on the bike. This thing drove up the ramp and straightened my arms. It went, and it was the scariest fucking time of my life. I'll never forget it. Never fucking forget it. Anyway, that's all the whole push was with the slick tire is because I knew that he was going to come on a Stark because it was so fast. But when it comes to having a bike that fast, your timing to deliver the power and nail the timing is 1 in 1,000, I think, on something like that. Yeah. And I feel that's why Colby struggled a little bit because he wasn't ready or couldn't time it.
Yeah. I can see that because, I mean, I've never ridden a Stark. It's on my list of I need to get a bike. I need to start riding it. I've been lazy. But I do want to get one. Yeah. Because honestly, I'm old now and it's like I've ridden for, I've ridden for 30 years, dude.
Yeah.
It's like I need something of a novelty.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
Yeah.
So Stark, if you're listening, hook it up. But, but it seems like, you know, when you drive an electric car or an electric go-kart, whatever, it's a light switch, right? There's no delay.
Yeah.
And like you said, the progressive roll of a Quarterpipe, I can see how in the moment of being amped up for your final run, like to time that would be difficult. But I don't know, man. I feel that if you actually look at what X Games has done, like I could go clickbait right now and be like, Corey, who put this protest in? And
oh yeah, I know. We're not going to say any names.
We're not going to do that. I've never been one for that.
No, yeah.
So as much as I should, because we're trying to grow this thing. But
I mean, we're not dumb.
Nah.
There's certain people in the industry that, you know, probably had a whisper or two.
Well, look, politics is politics.
Yeah.
But again, you come from a racing background. It's anything for an advantage. If that rider passes on a yellow or he cuts the track intentionally or not, the other team is going, rule book.
Yeah. Well,
get him, you know, he's docked 3 positions, right? And yeah, people outside looking in can talk shit, but you look at X Games going, it's in alignment with professional competition. Well, there's no Starks race in Supercross. There's no Starks race in MXGP.
Yep.
So as much as X Games is supposed to be this progressive platform, I do look at it and go, I kind of get it.
Oh, I get it for sure. I mean, X Games is the birth of action sports, moto action sports, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like if they see it as an advantage to the riders, they don't want to take it away from what they've created, which I fully understand. But I don't think it should be squashed. I'm a big one for pushing the sport and all of us evolving.
Yes.
I think for the progression for the sport, it either needs its own event or its own class.
To me, would you just not go, okay, best whip electric, best whip gas?
Yes,
You know?
for sure. I mean, and then what do you lose out of that? Everyone gets their cake and they get to eat their cake
Get their
you know
cake
what I'm saying?
Right?
long night.
Yeah, big day, big day.
But yeah, you get keep electric people happy and the gas people happy.
I guess
so.
for a TV audience, that I guess X Games would attract a lot of mainstream people, should we say?
Yeah.
That don't know, like when it's on Sports Center replay,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, "Oh, well, this is the electric class." They'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like,
And to be honest, like it wasn't spectacular at all when you hear a Stark inside a stadium. Like it's not spectacular.
well, you rode with Patrick at the Freestyle Kings show, right?
And that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's not. And if you had a few guys on an electric bike in a live show, it wouldn't be good.
Or it's not. Like it's the end of the day.
It's just lucky Patrick's riding the way he is.
Yeah. Or the whips are spectacular,
And that's what makes up for it. But if it
doesn't
wasn't
have
like that,
the wow factor. I mean,
Nah.
and I think we'll leave that topic there, but it's like, to me, again, I never rode X Games. I rode a lot of demos back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going to wherever, some arena in Nebraska or Wisconsin, right? And it's like
Yeah.
snowing outside.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much coming out of the tunnel, jumping the length of this hockey arena, landing in a tunnel to a steel lander. And you're like, the first hit, you're like, if I go long, I'm dead.
Yep.
And if I go short, I'm probably pretty fucked up.
The good old days, eh?
But the spectacle of that,
Yep.
where it was like the noise, right? When you land, it's
Yeah.
like boom, and
bang.
the whole landing shakes, and the crowd just watching you jump it is like let alone a trick.
Or the two-stroke, because you would have been
two-stroke,
riding two-stroke, right?
Yeah.
So like the revving of a two-stroke as well.
Yeah, and you got to jet the thing because it's fucking snowing outside and all this. But I look at it now and it's like, I never rode at the level you guys are at. Like I said, this was 2007, 2008. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's so gnarly. Like, I wasn't.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I feel like it's lost the wow factor. Like, it's safer for the riders because if you land on your head on a double flip on an airbag, yeah, you're probably going to be a lot safer than at dirt landing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you
But-
can see that with Sinclair's crash at Madrid X Games. Like, that really almost killed him. And then
Oh,
now seeing Harry's crash at the X Games in Japan,
yeah.
you know,
It's comparable.
he got out of that really well compared to Sinclair's.
Absolutely. And it's like advocate for rider safety, like no brainer.
Yeah.
Like you need that.
Yeah.
But I do feel as it's evolved, I think the crowds are just so desensitized to it
Yeah.
that you guys are sending the absolute limits. But I think my point I'm trying to make is, if I bring it back to what you're doing, every other landing at X Games is resi.
Yeah.
You guys are going to dirt.
The dirt, and we're going the highest, and when it's the most dangerous. It's gnarly, and you put all that aside. You got to turn there and you got to show up, and then actually turn up and ride good. This is going back to like the pressure and the pressure side of being these people that we are. Like back to even like Jacko Strong last year when he did the lazy boy, the lazy boy, no,
Fronty.
Adelberg, sorry,
Yeah.
the cliffhanger fronty.
Yeah.
Like that's gnarly. That's so dangerous. Like, yeah. And then, you know, all of us guys have to swing and swing and swing just to be ready for X Games at home, fly there. And then these boys doing those fucking massive tricks, or we're going as high as we're going. It's a gnarly world we live in, eh? And it's only getting harder and harder.
And I think, not to put a downer on it, but it's a reality.
Yeah.
Like you look at Jo
Yep.
Archer, you know, rest in peace, Jo. We were all
Yep.
tight with Jo.
Yep.
And he was one that was really pushing the limits of what was possible.
Yep.
But it really is, again, the game of it, you guys make it look so easy.
Yeah.
until something goes wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because we make it look easy because we put the work in, because that's what's required from us, from
Because
sponsors.
it's life and death, though, man.
And because we love it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter if like Jo, for example, you know, he's not here with us anymore, but he went out doing exactly what he wanted to do.
Well, J.O.'s one, I know for a fact that, because he was from Melbourne. J.O. was a weird deal for me, because like literally everywhere I was in Australia, he was just up the road. Yeah. It was like for years and years and years, he was in the south side where we were all in Melbourne.
That's right. I remember now, yeah.
And we were always at the track together. We'd be out at Sinks' house. He worked for SPMX.
Yep.
SPMX did all the tech for my teams over the years. My gym was up the road. So I'd see J.O. like every day. And then we both moved to the Goldie at the same time. And then he was in Outer Raceline, had my office at Raceline.
Yeah.
You were at Raceline.
Yeah,
like, we were always
kind of connected kind of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, he was one of those dudes that it was a journey for him to get paid, to get the shows. Like, he just missed that bubble of like the OG days. And then he was working class freestyle and he had to do something. But I guess what I'm getting to with this long ass fucking segue is that he was out doing triple flips, whether there was a camera there, whether there was
a fly,
like
a fly on the wall, man.
Like, he wanted that trick. So I remember talking to him about it in the early days, and he'd talk about breaking his femur and jumping off and all these accidents that he had at Travis's. And I was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, just not in this. I mean, I help guide a lot of people with their career as part of what I do now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like telling him what to do, but I was like, is there a show's going to build this ramp for you to do this trick? Like, is there something where this is going to pay off? And he was pretty much just like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to do it.
And that's the kind of answer I got too. And I felt bad saying anything like that to him. So I'd always just give him just be careful, man. Yeah. And he'd know exactly what I'm meaning. Yeah. Because it's fucking gnarly. And he was doing it all the time. And back to the whole bubble of, you know, the working class freestyle now. Like, I feel like that bubble started in 2022, straight after COVID. Yeah. Like, you don't really see many energy drink guys picking up new moto guys these days.
They're all riding their contracts out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or whoever's on is staying on. Yeah. There's not a lot of new faces in the energy drinks sponsorship scene, you know? Yeah. So I feel like that working class freestyle guy has really just maybe the way moving forward from 22 now, moving forward, it's very hard for people to make a living out of it now, and timing's everything.
Well, it is, man. And I guess talking about Joe, like finishing that, obviously it was a great loss, and I just want to show respect that nothing I'm saying there was to take away from what he did, because he innovated the next level of the sport.
And I always looked up to Joe, and like, especially now, well, I mean, it's not changing, but I was always a huge Joe fan, and
bro,
he's left a huge impact down here, for sure.
It did. And I guess it's just a sobering thought, but at the end of the day, back to work, you guys doing what you love, and it's just part of the game, right?
Part of it. Facts.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, the rider risk has been taken out of it so far with the airbags and the training. Yeah. But it's still a risk.
For sure, but it's the bubble too. You know, you're following the world. Yeah. I feel like no one wants to be trying like a double backflip to dirt anymore. I mean, like,
why would you? Right? Yeah, it's stupid.
Or even turn into my only airbag moto quarterpipe landing in the world, because.
Well, let's talk about that, because I know you're on schedule, dude, and literally we've got 10 minutes. Right?
Yeah, cool.
So.
FMX High Air.
FMX High Air. Let's talk about it. Let's plug it. We've got obviously a couple minutes, because we can't not talk about the fact that you do stunt work for movies like Mad Max. Yeah. You have a stunt company, the drivers.
Yep.
Very quickly, what is that? How does that come about?
Yeah.
And just talk about it.
Well, me and Dan Reardon, we partnered purely for the fact because there was not a lot of guys in the country, if any, that rode to our level and could also steer to our level.
Because you can drive a car at that level
too. I have to, because I worked Movie World in the stunt show driving for 7 years full time. Yep. So I have to be, I have to know my way around a car. And Dan come and work there a bit, and then we connected. We're like, we need to offer this to like the movie world and the TV world, because there's not a lot of people that can turn up to set, and the coordinator can look at us and go, I don't even need to ask you if that's okay, because I know that I can get it out of you. Whereas if you have some, regular Joe Blow, they're nervous and they're anxious because they don't know if they can get it out of the performer.
Yeah.
Whereas we bring that, that
level of
Anyway, so that's where me and Dan are. Like last night, for example, we were sunset to sunrise on Anaconda right now. New movie. We're lucky to be under the wing of like Quebec, who's one of the best, if not the best stunt coordinator in Australia.
Yeah.
So Dan's works with him pretty much next to full time, and I'm just brought in as a specialist when I'm needed because I can't really go to it full time. Yeah. With Moto, FMX High Air, I can't.
Dan is full-time stunt now, right?
Yeah.
That's all he does.
Yeah, I can't do, it's too much.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of brought in as a specialist, and we're lucky. We got a solid team with Leo and Chris and the rest of the boys, and we did Fall Guy with Kia.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and it's just we're very lucky.
You guys did Mad Max too, right?
We did Max, not with Kia, but we did as for just regular performers.
Yeah.
What else do we do? I've been on Bear Country with Russell Crowe. We have been so crazy busy this start of the year. So
obviously, as you age out of competition, that's the career path.
Well, because that's where freestyle motocross actually started for me, was because I was working live shows, and working TV, and then entered myself into a whip comp because I was riding moto in the show every day.
Yeah,
did good, and then it just eventuated into this big thing now.
So really. The segue is actually moto, not what you're doing.
No, the segue is just
that's what you've always been there.
Stuntman.
Yeah.
And then just moto's come out of it.
It's such a sick title, isn't it? Like Stuntman.
Yeah, like, I mean, in Australia, you can't just turn up. You obviously just can't turn up and work on a TV or movie set. You have to be like, qualified, accredited.
Insurance.
All that stuff. So, and then, I guess we're just, flat out with that. We're trying to build that, and it's all going really well. Dan's he's just doubled Paul Rudd on Anaconda.
Yeah.
I just doubled Aaron Paul on Bear Country. So we've been doing a lot of really good stuff. So
that's epic, man. And again, just we'll get you back in. We're probably going to do a tour. I haven't told Adam yet, but we're going to do a tour of the Gold Coast at some point. I've got a bunch of pods lined up, which would make more sense, where we'll just set up down there.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that.
but FMX High Air is my new thing.
Your new venture. So FMX High Air, you're the first in the world that's got a portable quarterpipe setup.
Yep.
You have 2 airbags. You got the lander for the quarter and a regular freestyle lander.
I got a next gen lander that has got a wedge in it with DD airbags. You can deflate the wedge and it just turns into a normal comp setup.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you obviously blow the wedge up and you turn into next gen. So that's really cool. Flip the ramp up.
So the concept, because again, freestyle's been around for 25 years.
Yep.
I feel like the concept of a regular freestyle show is extremely played out.
Yeah, for sure. By many.
Yeah, well, Freestyle Kings seems to be the new guys that have been able to package, and again, I've been in their shows, great job.
Yeah.
They have been able to repackage what is, again, it's not me talking shit, but we're jaded, we're in the industry. It's like, the first half of the show's uprights, then you get your flips, then you get this. Like, there's only so many ways you can reinvent the wheel. And obviously, you guys are the new part of the sport. So you've capitalized and gone, well, I need to take this to the masses.
Yeah.
So, I guess talk about that a little bit, as in, the mindset of, all right, we're going to take this on the road.
Well, I mean, you said it perfectly. It's 25 years of doing freestyle motocross, and, most of the promoters or, all the clients here in Australia, everyone wants something new and something different for sure. I mean, and Freestyle Kings are doing that great when they've brought in next gen, and we did Quarterpipe in Perth, and we're about to do it in Sydney. Yeah, and we were doing it to hard landings, and I spoke to Toddy at DD Airbags, and I wanted to, have this lander built because there's no one had one in the world, and I wanted to bring the new to the sport, and I know my comp life will eventually go away, which everyone knows. Nothing lasts forever, and I want to be able to keep taking that on because I love to do it. It's all it comes down to is I just love obviously riding a dirt bike, but I love quarterpipe. It gives me it's a new face every time I ride it.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me wanting more. Anyway, so I wanted to build this lander. We built the lander and got this whole show called FMX High Air now. And we've got Matsuri's show next weekend. Yeah. And then we got Kanungra's show, and then hopefully I got a couple of quotes out there. So it's going really well, and it's cool to be able to have it in my brain and come home and bring it to life.
I can see it fitting really well at a lot of events.
Yeah.
You know, it has a compact show space.
Yep.
Something new. Is it not? Like, it looks so different. You go from jump in quarter on your landing,
Yep.
which is solid steel,
Yep.
to an airbag. How is that?
Yeah, it was guinea pig for like it dragged me through the mud a few times. Like for someone like myself who's ridden quarterpipe for that many years now, my knowledge that I took to the lander was so wrong.
Right.
And it played with me for a while. Like even my first show I went to, I had a crash. My first show ever crashed on quarterpipe because I'd moved the ramp into where it should have been better from the week prior.
But it wasn't.
But it was worse.
Yeah.
And
because I guess you didn't get to be like, oh, we'll do this prototype airbag and then we'll figure out if we like that's it. That's a hunk of thousands of dollars.
A hunk of thousands of dollars. There's a lot of money that's cost me in that show.
I know roughly what I think you would have spent.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money, dude.
Yeah, and it's and then to be the guinea pig is a whole nother thing.
If you want, and we'll put it on screen.
Well, man, I've found it hard to be the writer, director, organizer, the whole show. So it's been hard, but I've been,
because you got to be so plugged in to ride quarter at the level you do.
Yeah.
And then have the extra stress of logistics.
Being it all lands on my shoulders if some shit goes wrong. So dealing with all that. But I've had massive help from all the boys like Southie Top Dog, Robbie Marshall there. Those boys are all riding for me. And everyone's been great. Bree's been doing a lot of marketing and all the design work.
Yeah.
And then like our sponsors like Soundbox and Shout Marketing and 5-3 Designs, they've just like, as soon as I've come to everyone and said, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do, it's for me, it's for the sport, let's do it, it's going to be sick, they're like, let's go.
Here it is, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's exciting, man. Like, again, there's not much new stuff comes out of, there's new promoters and new events and new races and new championships, but something completely new is rare.
Yeah.
So hats off to you.
Well, that's the push behind it, and back to swinging. Just
swinging for the fences.
Swinging and hopefully it works out.
That's rad, man. All right, well, hey, Cory Creed, let's leave it there. I know you got to get home to the kids and you had all night doing stunt work. And
thanks, mate.
It wasn't the long form we talked about, but there's still a lot of great stuff here.
Yeah.
And let's get you back in after X Games.
Yeah. We can talk more
and
about
we can talk more. That'd be sick.
A repeat.
Thanks, bro.
Sweet, mate. Thanks.
All right.
That's pretty good. That's good. On 3 hours sleep. Not too bad.
Yeah.
Didn't hiccup too many times.